friends. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cliff. On Planet YouTube, I go by Boondock Mercantile. I sell on eBay and Amazon, and I do 3D printing on the side as a hobby, and this, my Health Revelation 2020, as it's called. Today I will be talking all about cholesterol and its importance on the biological and cellular level, as well as a weight update for my own Health Revelation accountability. So let's get started. Now, if you've had your cholesterol tested, you've probably lumped HDL, high-density lipoproteins, and LDL, low-density lipoproteins, into two different categories, one good and one bad. Contrary to what you might think, they are not two different kinds. They reflect two different containers for cholesterol and fats, each of which serves a different role in the body. Cholesterol, no matter which kind, is not as terrible as we've been taught to believe. Science is only recently discovering that both fat and cholesterol are severely deficient in diseased brains, and that high cholesterol levels in late life are associated with increased longevity. The brain holds only 2% of the body's mass, but contains 25% of the total cholesterol, which supports brain function and development. So, that means 1/5 of the brain by weight is cholesterol. Now, cholesterol forms membranes surrounding cells, keeps membranes permeable, and maintains sort of a cellular waterproofing, so different chemical reactions can take place inside and outside the cell. Science has also determined that the ability to grow new synapses in the brain depends on the availability of cholesterol, which latches cell membranes together so that signals can easily jump across the synapse. Now, cholesterol in the brain also serves as a powerful antioxidant. It protects the brain against the damaging effects of free radicals. Cholesterol is a precursor for the steroidal hormones like estrogen and the androgens, as well as for vitamin D, a critically important fat-soluble antioxidant. Vitamin D is also a powerful anti-inflammatory, helping rid the body of infectious agents that can lead to life-threatening diseases. Given that vitamin D is directly formed from cholesterol, you won't be surprised to learn that vitamin D levels are low in people with a variety of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, and the like. Now, as we age, cholesterol levels naturally increase in the body. This is good, because as we age, our production of free radicals increases. Cholesterol offers a level of protection against these. Other vital roles of cholesterol. The bile salts secreted by the gallbladder, which are needed for the digestion of fat, and thus the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, and K, are made of cholesterol. Having low cholesterol levels would then compromise the body's ability to digest fat. It also compromises the body's electrolyte balance, since cholesterol helps manage it. In fact, cholesterol is regarded by the body as such an important collaborator that every cell has a way to make its own supply. So, what does this mean for dietary recommendations? Well, for years we have been told to focus on low cholesterol foods, but foods rich in cholesterol, such as eggs, are very helpful and should be considered brain food. We have eaten cholesterol-rich foods for more than 2 million years. As I have alluded to before, the real culprits when it comes to decreased brain function and health are foods that are high on the glycemic index, basically high in carbohydrates. One of the most pervasive dietary myths is the notion that the brain prefers glucose for fuel. This also couldn't be further from the truth. The brain uses fat exceptionally well. It is considered sort of a brain superfuel. This is why a fat-based diet is used as therapy for all manner of neurodegenerative diseases. Talking about cholesterol leads me to statins. Now, statin medications are prescribed to lower cholesterol in the body. They are known by brand names such as Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, and the like. Memory dysfunction is a known side effect of statins. Now, there's a study performed by the American Medical Association and published in the Archives of Internal Medicine in January 2012 demonstrated a 48% increased risk of diabetes among women taking statins. And this study was huge. There's 160,000 subjects involved in this study. Recognizing that type 2 diabetes is a powerful risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, a relationship between statins and cognitive decline or cognitive dysfunction is certainly understandable. A professor of biophysics at Iowa State University, his name is right there, so I don't butcher it, he is a noted authority on how cholesterol functions within neural networks. In an interview with Science Daily, he stated, and I quote, "If you deprive cholesterol in the brain, then you directly affect the machinery that triggers the release of neurotransmitters, which affect the data processing and memory functions. In other words, how smart you are and how well you remember things. If you try to lower the cholesterol by taking medication that is attacking the machinery of cholesterol synthesis in the liver, that medicine goes to the brain too. It then reduces the synthesis of cholesterol, which is necessary in the brain. Our study shows there is a direct link between cholesterol and the neurotransmitter release, and we know exactly the molecular mechanics of what happens in the cells. Cholesterol changes the shape of the proteins to stimulate thinking and memory." Cool stuff. Besides statins' direct impact on cholesterol, they have an indirect effect on the supply of fatty acids and antioxidants. They not only reduce the amount of cholesterol contained in LDL particles, but also diminish the actual number of LDL particles. So in addition to depleting cholesterol, they limit the stash available to the brain of both fatty acids and antioxidants, which are also carried in the LDL particles. Now, proper brain function depends on all three of these substances. Another way in which statins may contribute to Alzheimer's is by paralyzing the cell's ability to make coenzyme Q10, which serves as an important role as an antioxidant and producing energy for cells. Because coenzyme Q10 shares the same metabolic pathway as cholesterol, its synthesis is disrupted by statins. Some of the side effects listed for statins, such as fatigue, shortness of breath, problems with mobility and balance, and muscular pain, weakness, and atrophy, are related to the loss of Q10 in muscles and a reduced capacity for energy production. A deficiency in Q10 also has been linked to heart failure, hypertension, and Parkinson's disease. Given all these effects, it's quite logical to see why coenzyme Q10 has actually been proposed as a treatment for Alzheimer's. Now, studies dating back to the mid-90s reveal a link between statin use and an increased risk of certain cancers, not to mention a long list of side effects from digestive challenges to asthma, impotence, inflammation of the pancreas, and liver damage. A trial published in January of 2010 in the American Journal of Cardiology found that statin medications actually increased the risk of death. Researchers in Israel followed nearly 300 adults diagnosed with heart failure for an average of 3.7 years. In some cases, up to 11.5 years. Those taking statin drugs and had the lowest levels of LDL were found to have the highest rates of mortality. Conversely, people with higher levels of cholesterol had a lower risk of death. Now, here's why it's carbs and not cholesterol that causes high cholesterol. When you have a blood cholesterol test, the number represented is actually 75 to 80% derived from what your body manufactures and not necessarily what you've eaten. In fact, foods that are high in cholesterol actually decrease the body's production of cholesterol. We all make up to 2,000 milligrams of cholesterol every day because we desperately need it. And this is several times the amount found in our diets. The internal production of cholesterol is a complex, multi-step biological process that is hard on the liver, which is why our bodies prefer dietary cholesterol over making its own. So, what happens when you restrict your cholesterol intake, as so many people do today? Well, the body sends out an alarm that indicates a crisis, essentially famine. Your liver senses this signal and begins producing an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which helps make up for the deficit by using carbs in the diet to produce an excess supply of cholesterol. This is the same enzyme that statins target. Now, this is a Molotov cocktail in the making. As you eat excessive carbs while lowering your cholesterol intake, you incite a steady and punishing overproduction of cholesterol in the body. The only way to stop this downward spiral is to consume an adequate amount of dietary cholesterol and back way off of carbs. Cholesterol is at most a minor player in coronary heart disease, and it represents an extremely poor predictor of heart attack risk. Over half of all the patients hospitalized with a heart attack have levels in the normal range. The idea that aggressively lowering cholesterol levels will somehow magically reduce heart attack risk has now been fully refuted. The most important modifiable risk factors related to heart attack risk include smoking, excess alcohol consumption, lack of aerobic exercise, being overweight, and a diet high in, you guessed it, carbohydrates. Scary stuff. Absolutely scary stuff. Eat your carbs, people. It's good for you. And this will appease to the conspiracy theorists among us. The government has told us for decades to steer clear of cholesterol, or at least eat a certain amount. And once they have their mind set, they are very hard pressed to change their mind. But a few years ago, the FDA has actually labeled cholesterol, and I quote, a macronutrient no longer of concern, end quote. The fact that it's still on nutrition information as a percentage of daily intake is kind of beyond me. They're probably slow to change that. But the fact that the government has changed their mind on something they have been preaching to us for decades goes to show you how harmful it is not. So eat your eggs and be happy with it. And don't go for the egg white omelet. Go for the regular omelet, because them yolks is good for you. And now we go on to the other purpose of this health revelation series, and it has to do with my weight. It's my accountability to all of you who are following along, who I consider my friends. Got it written down on the board. I am now 11 pounds down for the month. Right there. I was 329 this morning on February 1st. Is that 11? Yeah, that's 11. Had to do some quick math and it wasn't so quick. But my next health update and next episode on Health Revelation 2020 will be on or around February 15th. You're going to want to stay tuned for that, because we're going to expand on this cholesterol issue, and we're going to talk about trans fats, polyunsaturated fats, and Ansel Keys and his infamous 7 countries study. You're not going to want to miss it. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you for following along with my health revelation. Until next time.